Today, I want to get into something that I've been working on for about a year now, and that is learning how to effectively glass. This seems like it would be a very simple concept. However, there's a lot of little nuances that I wasn't super familiar with that over the last year I've had the privilege to get to learn. I've spent some time with some people like Cliff Gray and doing some of these their classes that these guys have put together where you book a class, you do the classwork, you do some field work, and then you go on an actual hunt, put the practices to use. It's been amazing. I've learned an unbelievable amount, and now I feel like it's time to kind of pass that along and my take on it. Okay, so to jump right into this, the number one thing that I've learned about glassing, beyond anything else, beyond your equipment, beyond your abilities, beyond your eyesight, beyond the spot you pick, beyond anything, the number one thing you have to do is you have got to gain the confidence that this is gonna work. Because you might glass all day long to see one animal, and it happens so fast that if you've been glassing for 3 or 4 hours, now all of a sudden that animal shows up. If you're not confident, if you're not still being vigilant, if you're not still sticking to all the practices that you know and that you've practiced and you've learned, you're gonna miss the animal. Now you've just wasted a whole day, and now that's more lack of confidence that you're gonna build. Personally, I really struggled with glassing. Growing up, most of my hunting style that I had learned was still hunting. Once I got older, I did start getting into some hound hunting. Obviously, again, that's not gonna require a lot of glassing, pretty much none, other than trying to check what gender a bear is when he's up a tree. That's about the only time I use my binoculars at all. Living in Arizona, we spend a ton of our time hunting water. You find a tank, you sit the tank, the animals have to get a drink, so once again, not a lot of experience. Anything I do, when I want to learn something, I feel that you can go out there and you can beat your head against the wall and you can try and figure it out yourself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Or you can enlist the help of a professional. And I feel like this takes years and years off of the learning curve, and you're gonna get a lot better at it and have a lot more confidence. Now, the first hunt that I booked, I went with Cliff to Alaska, and this hunt, the whole course was based on glassing, spot and stock the fall bears in Alaska. It was super cool going there for a couple reasons. One, they do a few things different. Like for example, in Alaska, you're driving down the lake in a boat, glassing from the moving boat. This was crazy to me because I'm used to, even if you're glassing out of your truck, you have to turn the truck off because the vibrations will pretty much make it useless. So that's where I learned about these things right here. And these are the Sig Zulu 6. These ones I use are a 12 by 42. This is my everyday binocular. I keep it in my little chest harness right here. That's on me all the time. I use this on every hunt, whether it's for bears, deers, elk, whatever. These things, you can be riding down the lake in a boat, vibrating. You flip the little lever right here on, and everything just stops. I mean, it is unbelievable. This is really, really beneficial when you're watching for an ear twitch or a shadow that moves or something like that. When you have these binoculars, it changes everything, because when you see a movement, it's actually a movement. It's not just wondering if, oh, did I bump my elbow, something like that. Like, the way that these change the game is unbelievable. One of my biggest takeaways from Alaska buying these things, I mean, it really was impressive. So at that point, I kind of felt like, well, now I have these IS binoculars, and what else do I need, you know? And why do I need to use a spotting scope? And the opportunity came up this year where I was able to go again with Cliff, and this time we went to Idaho to hunt bear. Now, this hunt was a backpack hunt, again, completely focused on spot and stock. However, this time we're glassing bears really far away. Then we're trying to make the decision of whether we want to make the hike to that bear, set a spike camp, because the odds are you're going to see that bear in the last 10 minutes of light. That's just when bears are out. That's when they're moving. You're glassing a mile away. You see the bear, you have to make the decision, and maybe a couple miles by the time you go down the hills and up the hill, whatever it is, you're glassing long distances. In doing that, you have to make a good solid decision on, do I want to go across, and a lot of time there's a river, so you got to go around. It might be a 6-7 mile hike. It takes you 5 hours to get there. You need to decide whether you want to make that hike or not, and part of that is figuring out if the bear is worth killing. When we first started talking about this, I was like, well, I'm just going to bring my binoculars. I can see good enough. They're lightweight. I'm backpacking, so weight's super important. I don't want to carry my big spotter, tripods, all these things. It's like, well, my whole point was learning how to glass, so I'm kind of cheating myself if I just do what I already know. And it's something we run into a lot with hunting, and I'm sure as guys we do it a lot of other things. We think we know everything, so we just kind of stick with that instead of learning. So from there, I made the decision, I'm gonna bring a spotter. Okay, so this Vortex spotter that I had is a Vortex Diamondback 20-60 with an 85 millimeter opening. What those numbers mean is your zooms. This will zoom from 20 times to 60 times. The 85 is the millimeters of this end here, and that's gonna be your light gathering. This is also a very budget spotting scope. It's for the money, it's a great scope, but it's not considered expensive glass. That didn't bother me. What I came to on this hunt for backpacking was the fact that this spotting scope is heavy. This is almost 4 pounds without the case. It's not that fun to carry around. And it's very long, it's very bulky. Attached to the tripod, it wasn't sitting right in my pack. I wasn't super excited about it, but I brought it anyways. So on top of that, I got this Tract. This is a Torrid 2245 by 65, I believe. Yeah, 65 millimeter. Less zoom, smaller. Everything about it is smaller than this. It's also much lighter. It's almost a pound lighter, which is huge in backpacking world. I was happy with the weight, the size, everything about this. I was nervous about whether this was a big enough upgrade from this to bother carrying both. Because they're somewhat similar, I just wasn't sure it was worth the extra weight. In my mind, I can see the same amount with these as I can see with this, so why carry it? So before we got into the bush plane, we did some testing. And we set up the spotters, and we also set up one other very, very high-end spotter. The Tract is a more expensive spotter than the Vortex, substantially, about 3 times the cost. But I wanted to know if it was better. I wanted to know if it made a difference. So we set these two up, and then one other extremely expensive one that's about 3 times the cost of this. As we had these set up side by side, we glassed up on the hill, immediately found a herd of elk up on the hill. It's pretty cool in Montana. There's enough elk that you can just sit at the house and glass them. We were able to get all 3 of the spotters and the binoculars and compare on the hillside. And that moment, we had really good light. It was midday, no clouds, like everything was perfect. So I couldn't tell a difference between the 3 really at that point. I could tell a little bit better the spotter from the binoculars, you know, you could kind of make out a little more detail of the elk, but at that moment it didn't seem that crucial. But it was enough to realize that I could bring this instead of the heavy one, which was important to me. From there, we got out into the field, we started hunting, putting some of the things that I had learned in the course to work. I believe it was like not the first full day that we hunted, but maybe the second evening, I was in a spot glassing separately. It was fairly early. I still had maybe 3 hours until dark, and I'm just practicing the stuff I learned. And some of that stuff I'll talk about now that is important. One of the biggest practices is the gridding. Gridding is just like it sounds. You're gonna take an area that you've picked to glass. For this hunt in particular, we knew about the elevation the bears were gonna be at by looking at grass. We knew that they're gonna be on a south-facing slope because that's where the grass is. So we went on onX and picked out the places we wanted to be for this specific hunt. I had a pretty good spot I was comfortable in. I'm gridding. So gridding is you have an area, and typically how it works, you're gonna have some trees around and then there's gonna be like a patch of grass. The patch of grass is where the animals are gonna come out to eat. That's where you're gonna see them. How I do it is I just come up with the tree line And I kind of split the tree line the first time and go like 60-40, 60% of the trees, and kind of just follow that down, and then move over a little and go 60-40 the other way. That way you got the lap. And then again, and I grid the whole area. And when I'm done gridding that way, I get over here and I start going the other way, because sometimes as you're moving this way, you'll just see something a little bit differently. The other thing is, each time you move the spotter on the tripod, you're gonna take your eyeball and you're gonna move it all the way around that eye reticle and look from different angles going in a circle with your eye. This is a spot where you're really gonna see a difference in a super high quality glass and a less expensive glass. Even no matter how much I love these, edge to edge clarity on these is nothing like the Swaros, but the stability makes up for it. Doing that and experimenting with it and putting to work what I had learned, I was really, really impressed with the track, but I still wasn't sold on the fact that I needed a spotter. I was kind of still torn as, yeah, this is cool, but I can do it with my binoculars way faster. Your field of view is bigger, you can go quicker and everything else. So I kind of bounce back and forth. I'll scan it with my binoculars. If I see something, I'll grid it with the spotter. It was working real good for me. And at about 3 hours to dark, I see a bear. And I saw it with my binoculars, looked at it, stoked, there's a bear. All right, this is what we're here for. Really excited. I did the math, I'm looking at the trail. It's gonna take me 2.5 hours to get to the bear. That's leaving me 30 minutes of shooting. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is gonna work. I was gonna be packing the bear back in the middle of the night or set up a spike camp over there, whatever happened, but I had time, it was gonna work. As I'm starting to grab my stuff and throw it back in, I'm like, oh, let me just look one more time. So I get the spotter, move the spotter down onto it, and as soon as I got the spotter almost to where the bear was up on a log, and I was kind of following the log over to get zoomed in on the bear. As I'm going across that log, I literally could see 2 little black ears sticking up from the other side of the log. I was like, what is that? I kind of backed out my zoom a little bit, and it was very clear to me what was going on. There was, the bear I had been looking at was a sow. She was on this side of the log, kind of doing her thing, feeding. On the back side of the log was a cub. It ended up being 2 cubs. Eventually they finally came out. Now, at a high of not pulled out the spotter, and I just threw all my stuff in my bag and took off over there to go try and kill this bear. It's not some dramatic thing where I would have got over there and shot the sow. Like, obviously I had hours before I got there. I'm shooting with a bow. I would have seen them once I got there. They wouldn't have been in the same log situation, and I'm much closer. I would have realized it. But I would have wasted an entire night, because it would have taken me the 3 hours to get there, 2.5 hours to get there. Once I'm there, realizing what had happened, turn around. Now I've just hiked 5 hours for no reason. I'm exhausted. It's super late at night. Now I'm tired the next day. It really would have caused some problems. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, the 3 pounds is super worth it. I'm sold. Once I made that decision that I was locked into using it, then I really started trying to hone in some of my techniques and things I do. One big tip that I've found is when you're carrying your spotter, attach that thing right to the tripod, and in between your backpack, there's usually you have 2 packs or the meat area or something, anywhere you can, or to the side, strap it on like that. That way you're set up and ready to go. And part of the reason we use the binos so much is they're right here on our chest. You see something, you pop it up, it's easy. Now, having your spotter on your backpack, right on the side, ready to go, easy to use, it's gonna make you use it a lot more, because now you're sitting down, you're kind of glassing with your binoculars, and yeah, maybe, well, it's right here, I might as well set it up. So you set it up, and now you start running down the edges. Maybe you've gridded everything with your binoculars, there's clearly nothing out in the open. Now you pull out your spotter and you start getting into that tree line and cutting back in there and looking at each little spot where you could see a little further in. Now all of a sudden you notice that shadow shouldn't be like that, or did that branch just move? And now all of a sudden you're seeing things that you would have never seen because you're deeper in, and because it wasn't a big ordeal to set it up. So by using it more, you're seeing more. Now the next part of that, The more you see while you're glassing, the better you're gonna get at it. Because the number one thing that happens to people when it's spot and stock or glassing is you might have spent 3 hours trying to glass this area. You've picked it apart all day long in the heat of the day when no animals are out. You have seen nothing. 30 minutes before prime time, when everything's all of a sudden about to come out and start moving and feeding, you're burnt out. You're just like, this is not working. I gotta move. I'm gonna get up. If I was just a little higher, or if I was on that ridge, I would have seen something, but obviously they're not coming out today, so I'm just gonna pack up. I'll get back to camp, get a good night's sleep. You know, I'm kind of hungry. Whatever it is, you're gonna talk yourself into giving up. And that's just how our brains work. And it's like the microwave. The microwave is like this super fast way to cook food, but every time you take your food out 3 seconds before it dings, because that last 3 seconds, you just can't stand it any longer. You gotta go. Same thing with glassing and the spot and stock. It's very easy to talk yourself out of it, but the more times it works for you and the more times you stick it out and you're just about to get up and go and your brain's talking to you, and then all of a sudden out walks this bear. You're like, oh man, this bear is right there and I would have never seen it. So the confidence builds the skill. The more confidence you have in it, the better you're gonna get at it. The difference is you're staying 30 minutes longer. When you see a branch move, you have the confidence to really get in there and spend 15, 20, 30 minutes looking at every little single thing around it and see what moved that branch. Maybe it was a raven that was sitting in the branch that took off. Maybe it was a bear that pulled on the branch to eat. And as you get later into the year, especially fall, these berry bushes and stuff, they get huge. You can't see a bear walking through it, but you can tell when a branch starts doing this, there's a bear down there picking berries. He's just underneath, you can't see through there. But if you have no confidence and you just see a branch move, you're, maybe I moved, maybe it was a bird, whatever. And you keep glassing and you don't put a lot of thought into that. I think the biggest thing you could do if you want to get good at glassing, at spot and stock hunting, is just get out there and start seeing animals. Something you can do is in the off season when you're not hunting, don't go spend 3 hours out there. Just go spend the last 20 minutes. Drive to a spot where you can see some stuff and spend the last 20 minutes of light glassing, because that's when you're gonna see stuff. Now, does that mean you're never gonna see something in the middle of the day? No, it's very possible. But when you don't have the confidence, you're probably not gonna see something during the day. And then you're gonna leave in prime time and not be there when the stuff does come out. So when it doesn't matter, when you're not hunting, when you're just learning, get out there and just set up and glass stuff and look at it and take some videos, take some pictures. You can set up one of these Digiscope adapters onto your stuff and take some cool videos, some cool pictures. It's actually a lot of fun to do. And you will be amazed how much more you start to see as your confidence builds. Okay, so to kind of sum this up and wrap it up, my biggest takeaways are: one, learn how to e-scout. I don't have enough time and there's too much information to go over this in this video, but go on some of these other guys' videos. There's great ones out there. Learn how to e-scout, pick your spots, and then go try them out in the real world. So pick places close to your house. You know, it doesn't have to be somewhere where you're gonna find a bear or a moose or something like that. You can go somewhere where you might see a javelina or wherever you're at, a whitetail, something. Pick spots that you think are gonna be good for e-scouting on your onX, and then go there and glass them and see if it actually is good. Even if you don't see animals, you'll get the idea of where you're gonna be able to see what you wanna see compared to how it looks on onX. That would be the number one thing you should start practicing. Number two recommendation is learning the grid patterns and the chasing your eyeball around the whole center each time, and really taking your time picking things apart. Learn to get deep into those trees with your spotter and zoom in and out and adjust your focus to really cut way back into those trees. Start seeing some stuff in there. Even if all you're seeing is birds, the fact that you're seeing it, you're doing something right. And that rolls right into the next thing, and that's the building the confidence. Just get your confidence up to where you're gonna stay until last light. So there's obviously exceptions to that. Now, if you're on the last day of a hunt, obviously you're not gonna have time to get to an animal that's gonna take you 4 hours at last light. It's the last day. Usually how that works is when you see something over there the night before, you sleep on it, you either stay there, you move closer, spike out, the next morning you get in there first light and kill it. But other than that, you need to be staying till it's dark. You need to be walking back to your camp in pitch black. And if you're not, that's a problem. But it's usually related to your confidence. Until you've seen enough of them that way, you're just not gonna have the confidence to do it. The last thing that I will say, try and test out and try out as many different kinds of glass as you can. Ask your friends, go out with guides, sign up for classes, do whatever you can do to try as many different optics as you can try until you figure out what really works for you. And once you figure out what really works for you, then go with that. A couple of things that I'll bring up on that now. If you go out and you buy an inexpensive budget scope like this one, this will work. It's not like this is terrible or anything's wrong with it. It's a budget scope. For the money, I think this one's great. I think there's other things that are more expensive, not as good, but it's a budget scope. If you buy one of these budget scopes, the only thing you can do if you decide you don't like it is give it away, because there's no market, there's no resale on a $500 or $600 spotter. They're just, if people are gonna spend $500 or $600 or even $300, they're just gonna go buy the new one and get the warranty. That's one of the great things on these is they warranty anything. Now when you buy a more expensive optic like this, the resale on this is gonna be really good. You're gonna get like 80–85% of your money back if you need to resell this for some reason, like you don't like the eye caps, it doesn't fit you quite right, whatever the reason is, you need to get rid of this, you're gonna be able to sell it, as opposed to something like this that you're just gonna have to give it away. In trying stuff out, that's gonna help you there, but it's something to keep in mind. The only way you're really gonna figure out what you like and what's comfortable is by using it. Everyone's gonna have their opinion. Everyone's, half the guys are absolutely set on it needs to be a straight spotter. The other half of the guys are like, oh no, it absolutely has to be angled. It's the only way to do it. This is all personal preference. Spend hours behind that thing and see how you feel. If you're constantly glassing down valleys, you're getting to the very highest peak and you're glassing down for goats or something, this angled one might be funky because then you're trying to look down in a weird way. Everybody's different. That's why they make so many different variations. So that's why you just need to go out there and try as much as possible. Talk to people, borrow theirs, do whatever you can. Go out in the off season, go bird watching, go try and glass up some cool animals at the preserve, whatever you can do in your area, get out and put the hours in behind it. I really do recommend the camera adapters because this does make it fun because now you can get some cool pictures with it and it gives it some purpose. All right, so these are kind of my key takeaways over the year from my experience. I hope there's something in there that helps. I'm sorry I don't have some sort of earth-shattering intuition that's gonna make you the best glasser in the world by tomorrow. That's not gonna happen. You're just gonna have to get out there, get the confidence, and figure out what works for you. But have some fun in the meantime. Thanks, guys.